It's become to the point where tax feels like punishment. I think there's more rich people in their 20s than ever in history.
Wow.
I don't have any data to back that up.
Okay.
It's actually the way to get around tax. Bitcoiners buy Bitcoin because they understand the money, and property people buy property because they don't understand.
This country is if you believe that, what do you do?
There's only two things.
Place your bets and put your money where your mouth is. Stop leaving comments all over social media, winding people up with your bullshit. Hey, Mikey, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. You're interviewing me today by the looks of it.
Yeah. So often I'll have conversations with Mikey where I just can't make sense of these people who spend so much time telling you that, you know, we need to tax the rich or whatever it may be. So I've written down some examples of things that I see. And I thought what we could do is I'm going to ask, well, I guess what I get confused with is then, okay, what are you doing about that? And then the comments stop. I don't get a reply. I'm like, oh, well, I'm actually intrigued. Like, if you believe that, then what are you doing? So I thought what I could do is I could take some of these comments and then I could ask Mikey, if he believed that, then what is he going to do in that situation? So Mikey doesn't know what these things are.
Shit.
But
these might be tough, man.
So, Mikey, someone comes to you, well, no, let's do it this way. You believe that there will be no pension in New Zealand by the time you get to 65. So place your bet, like what are you going to do before you get to 65? If you believe that, what are you going to do?
Save. So first of all, my opinion is that there will be a pension, but it won't technically be able to be funded properly, so they will put more dollars into the system. So everyone else who is using the dollars and using them to operate, they will be worth less, which means things will inflate.
Yeah.
So the protection against that is, and that's actually what I think will happen. I don't think the way that the political system works with 4-year terms or whatever we have and voting in and voting out all the time based on differing opinions about this kind of thing will actually get through, and they'll pay for it with printed money. So the solution to that is for us as individuals to make sure that we protect the value that we earn. So we go to work, we spend 10 hours a day, and we get a certain amount back for it, and you want to maintain a bit of that. I think that there are various ways to do it, right? Like we love to do it in New Zealand through property. I like to do it long term through like Bitcoin or stuff like that. Other people like gold and silver. Actually, like the S&P 500 is a great inflation hedge.
Yeah.
Big companies like the big top tech companies that are basically like Google and giant monopolies, they're great inflation hedges. And I think that's probably the way that I would do it.
What do you think these people that leave these comments, what do you think they're doing?
They're not protecting it, right? They're spending it all, and they can see that it's getting harder and harder to get started, and they're getting left further and further behind. So they might not be able to articulate that, but that's what they're feeling. And they think that the solution is Elon has too much money, we should take it and redistribute it. And there's plenty of times in history that provide very high quality evidence that that does not work. Me making you poor doesn't make me rich.
Yeah. What? Yeah, okay.
So, like, if I take your money, if the government takes your money,
Yeah.
that doesn't solve your problems.
Yeah.
No.
But many people would believe that, yes, it will, because we're all talking about a capital gains tax at the moment. I guess that's probably a good one too. So
Capital gains tax.
yeah. But I'll just give you some data.
They've just done it in England, by the way.
Oh, maybe I don't have this.
I think,
Oh, yes.
I don't know the full details, but basically,
Oh, they've ramped it up again, higher.
they've attacked farming.
Oh, wow.
A 20% inheritance tax or something like that. So for the last 40 or 50 years, governments and central banks in the UK have continued to devalue the pound. In turn, that has increased the values of land as a number. The land is still the land, and the land hasn't changed. But that means the landowner, the number go up on the land through no fault of their own. They were not the one, the landowner was not the one that hit the printer and hit the button. And during this 40 or 50 years or whatever, how long a period, there has also been regulations, tax increases, rules, all sorts of stuff piled on farmers. At the moment, they're going through like a a greening thing, and they're just smashing farmers. So after having your farm that you may have been passed down for 80 years and being stolen from your whole life, when it comes time to pass to your kids, because you've been stolen from your whole life, you're effectively poor. You have an asset value because the land is there. A lot of farmers carry a lot of debt too.
Oh, yeah.
And then they say, well, the land is worth 10 million pounds or dollars in New Zealand. And they say, if that's going to your son,
We want 20%.
2 million. Where does that money come from? There's only two. They either borrow it to pay it and then move the liability onto the son, which makes their job harder to provide food, which is actually like national security. I won't go too deep into that. Or it gets sold to pay the bill. So you get stolen and ripped off your whole life from a government that provided you no value and made it harder for you to provide food for your nation. And then at the end, you lose it.
Sheesh.
How deep do you want me to go, man?
I like it. On capital gains tax, mate, I thought you might find this interesting. I spent a little bit of time on the couch yesterday. And
You are in this at the moment, eh?
Yeah,
I've seen your LinkedIn posts and stuff. It's so good.
Yeah. Because I think what's frustrating for me is, like, I'm happy to have the conversation, right? And I don't need to pick a side. I'm just like, oh, cool. Like, what's all this shit about? And then people start saying to me, oh, capital gains tax is going to decrease the income tax you pay. I'm like, great. Who said that? Oh, where is that? And by how much?
No.
How much is the capital gains tax? And I'm like, I haven't seen any of that data. So there's all these like things that people jump. Oh, it's going to improve housing affordability. Oh, okay. How come? Did it work in Sydney? Where did it work? I want to know where it worked. Oh, well, you can't compare Australia to New Zealand. I'm like, so then how? Okay, so what's the data?
What's the evidence then?
But anyway, I'm like, where's the data of how much this capital gains tax is actually going to take? Because from what I see, I saw recently 65% of people vote in favour of a capital gains tax, but about 80% of them are like, not in my house. Like, no way. Why should my personal property? So then, okay, if that's the main asset basis for most people and that's not in a capital gains tax, how much is actually going to be collected? Anyway, in 2019, the tax working group, chaired by Sir Michael Cullen, estimated that such a tax would generate approximately $8.3 billion over 5 years, approximately $1.66 billion annually. Well, Mikey, what do you think we could do with $1.66 billion annually? That sounds like such a big amount of money, and it's just going to solve all of my individual problems, Mikey, because the infrastructure deficit is estimated to be north of $210 billion. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the capital gains tax solving all of my fucking problems. Anyway, I then thought, well, I wonder what's happened to the tax take since 2019. Well, in 2019, New Zealand's core crown tax revenue was approximately $86.5 billion, Mikey. And in 2024, New Zealand's core crown tax revenue was approximately $120 billion. So we've received well over $35 billion, which is a lot more than $8.6 billion of a capital gains tax. And have we got that second bridge to the North Shore? No, I don't think so. Did we pay for those hospitals?
What happened to that train in the city?
Yeah, so I'm kind of confused. Then I'm like, no, what we probably could do instead, that we could do a mix of borrowing and taxes, because if we've increased taxes by $35 billion and things still haven't really changed, I thought, well, surely, but then I thought, I feel like we kind of have been borrowing, so that's probably why all these solutions have solved and my life is so amazing, and a capital gains tax would make it even more amazing, Mikey. But between June 2019 and June 2024, New Zealand's net core crown debt increased from approximately $57.7 billion to $175.5 billion, a rise of around $117 billion, Mikey, over the 5-year period. But the capital gains tax of $8 billion would have solved all of my life problems.
I also think during that period they put super back into the calculation and it was taken out of it previously, so that's even bigger.
I guess what it's highlighting for me is these people who are having this conversation, but I'm like, okay, where's the data? What's it actually going to raise? What are we going to do with that cash? And is it going to fucking make a difference? Because to me, $8.3 billion over a 5-year window, when our tax takes already increased by 35 and debts increased by $120 billion, it doesn't feel like the money has been directed to solve the problems, which is probably one of your biggest arguments against a capital gains tax, right?
Yeah, I just... I argue against all tax.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether it's a capital gains tax or a new income tax rate of 45% or a toll road or, doubling the cost of parking or council rates going up by double. Any of these things, fuel, like any of these things, a tax is a tax. It's going to the state. the council and the government. So I don't really argue for or against a capital gains tax on property as such. I just think it's become, I think, to the point where tax feels like punishment.
Yeah.
And more of it's going to feel like more punishment. And the job, I think, of the government is like the title is public servant. And your job is to serve your country and serve your people. And at the moment, it feels like we've got kindergarten teachers telling us that it's recess time and then they're taking off us at the same time and we don't get anything back for it type thing. So there's a lack of value being provided. We can see like somehow I still get access to these wild headlines like the Dunedin hospital's fucked.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I don't know the details, but it needs money. And they're like, no, we're not doing it or something. And we hear stories all the time about, like me, I have speed bumps and potholes. Like, why would you put brand new speed bumps in when you haven't fixed the fucking potholes? We can't drive fast on the roads anyway because they're fucked.
Yeah.
Then we've got, like, people complaining about our nurses leaving because they're not getting paid enough, and teachers and police, like, all of this stuff. And the answer isn't more tax because we've been doing that.
And borrowing.
So, like you said, the $8 billion is a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
So what we actually need is efficiency and some brain power and use productivity and think about what we're going to do with it. Yeah. But the reality is they won't. They'll print and borrow it.
I've got to think about this in more depth, mate. But one thing that I do think, when 80% of people say, oh, it can't include the family home, that for me is just going to encourage, like let's say me, well, that's going to encourage me to one day buy a $4 million property because I can afford to when I get there, and then go, right, well, this becomes 8, and then I go, I do want a fucking boat. Mikey, bro.
Yeah.
Can you get me,
this?
Can you get me 300 rap?
Yeah.
Because, I've got enough equity. And you're like, yeah, piece of piss, man. Stroke of a key, bang, sign those docs, 300K, baby, no tax for me.
Yeah.
But if renting Luke's going to be like, how did he get that boat? I'm like, bro, I put it on the mortgage, man. No tax as well. No mother. They're going to be like, what the hell?
So debt is actually the way to get around tax.
Yes. Well,
and the price to doing it is servicing, really.
Yeah.
But even if, let's say, the capital gains tax on your $4 million to $8 million property was 50%. If you don't sell it and don't realize it,
how do I pay it?
You don't pay it. So if you continue to borrow against it forever and then buy more assets with it.
Yeah.
So where people go wrong is they go and buy a boat.
Yeah.
But if they go and buy, assets like other properties and then never sell them and never sell their assets, that's what quite wealthy people have done over the last 50 years.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether there's a tax there or not. But yeah, you're not going to stop it.
Yeah, it's going to incentivize different behavior.
It's just going to, do you think humans will just be like, lie down, there's no point anymore. Even with these tax rates, I'm just going to stay at home.
Yeah.
Fuck no. I'm going to be sitting there thinking, being like, how do we beat this new system?
Yeah, and that's what I think a lot of people will do, is they'll ensure that they can borrow against their family property that isn't taxed to then access shit. And then you'll still end up with a division of people then going like, oh, that's how they do it. And everybody that has a family home, which is 2/3 versus 1/3, if they keep printing money and equity keeps increasing and people can service the debt, they can get access to it to then go and buy things. Might be a $50,000, trip overseas and things like that. But if they've got equity in their property that hasn't actually been created by them, it's been created by the dollar being devalued and more money put into the system, and they don't have tax on it, that third are eventually going to go, that is bullshit. But how are you going to get 67% of people to go like, yeah, you should tax my family home? So I think the capital gains tax thing, when you start actually looking into it,
it's just loaded.
Anyway, mate, let's get us back on track. Okay, so if there was no pension at 65, you're going to start saving. I agree. That, and this, I guess this is the point of this pod, is if you believe the stuff that you say, or if you see people saying this stuff, ask them, okay, great, what are you doing with that information?
Yeah.
Because I think, and I talk about it all the time, but people want to tell you this shit to then be like, told you? Bro, you're still broke. You are at 65, there isn't a pension and you're broke, but you knew for 30 years. So why didn't you take some action?
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, what I want to encourage people to be thinking about. Then there's this country is fucked. So then, Mikey, if you believe that, what do you do?
there's only two things. You either help fix it or you go somewhere else and go take your problem somewhere else.
Take your problem somewhere else. I like it. Yeah.
That is, though. It
Yeah, I
seriously
like it.
is.
Man, that's really good. Yeah, you help fix it or you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
there's
I
no
was
in
only one. I was like,
between.
you go.
Well, unfortunately, like the way that I guess like
I like that's better than my response. Yeah.
well, the support and I guess I have to be careful because I do believe that welfare is important, but I think it gets overused in this country. So, like the system supports a lot of complaining, being able to stay here and not provide solutions.
Yeah.
But I think, in general, you want to be, this is broken. To be honest, man, I see this a bit in like in the Bitcoin community sometimes. People complain about like all of the problems and stuff because once you learn deeply about Bitcoin, you get to learn about the system and the political system and the monetary system, and you get to see some pretty ugly stuff. But the solution isn't just to like complain and then leave it, I don't think. I personally think you either go somewhere where you can do what you want and you take your problem with you and then stop being a bit of a whinger. Like if you've got the solution, which for them is Bitcoin, you fixed it. Like,
Yeah.
like what's the problem now? Go somewhere where it suits you. Like there's countries with it as legal tender. There's countries with no tax on it and stuff like that. See ya. Or help.
Yeah.
Come provide solutions to the problems. And I think it's scary because the problem is so large.
Yeah. So then you just bark at it instead.
Yeah. The problem is massive and it's like, where do I start? And to be honest, sometimes I think about that stuff and the problems, some of the issues, and I'm like, oh, this might be a problem. Even if I started working on it today, it might be 30 years.
Yeah.
So then I go, I'll just go and run my business. I think about it for a little while and it's this massive time preference commitment. And I'm like, my family's a bit too important to go and do that. I'll just focus on the smaller things.
Yeah.
But that doesn't give me the right to go and continuously complain about it then. Like over and over and over and over. Because if you do that, you sound like the comments. And then you can't, like you said, you're like, what's the solution? And then you don't get a reply.
Yeah.
And then you look like an idiot. And that's okay. But I mean, I'd prefer not to be like that.
Too many of us signed up to a KiwiSaver plan without much thought. And signing up is great, but if you've never got advice before, you could be missing out. Your KiwiSaver account could become one of your biggest assets over your lifetime. That's why getting expert advice early and ensuring you're in the right fund is so worthwhile. Generate have a team of KiwiSaver advisors available to help. Head to generatekiwisaver.co.nz/change to book a no obligation meeting. They can even come to you. A copy of the product disclosure statement is available at generatekiwisaver.co.nz. The issuer of the scheme is Generate Investment Management Limited, and of course, past performance does not guarantee future returns.
Yeah, I just find it interesting when people, that's why I call it like place your bets, because, you know, if you're having a punt and you're really keen on something, then what you do is you go, I'm going to back myself, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. So I sort of think, like, if you think the country's buggered, well then, like, what are you doing about it? Like, shouldn't you be stacking cash to then buy a flight to bounce?
Yeah.
If you truly believe that and that's your thing. If you think that, even that currency is devaluing and that Bitcoin's a solution, I think because Bitcoin's up at the moment, I'm getting the people taking the piss out of me because I think some people that don't know me don't think that I know anything about it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, Mikey understands you're a fucking idiot and all this. I'm like, yeah, man, cool, bro. Like, I sold my 0.4 of a Bitcoin to go to Vegas, mate.
Yeah.
Of course I'm an idiot.
Luke's been around Bitcoin a lot longer than people realise.
Yeah. And, I've got like podcasts and money mails about it and people are like, oh, I didn't realise you're a Bitcoiner, bro. And I'm like, bro, I'm not a Bitcoiner, mate. I'm just trying to...
I'm Luke.
Yeah, I'm trying to store some of my cash because I learned that money is devaluing. So this thing looks like a good way to save some cash.
Yeah.
And so I put my money where my mouth is and brought some.
Made
What
the
are
bet.
you doing, bro?
Yeah.
You're messaging me saying, oh, you're a fucking idiot. And I'm like, how much Bitcoin you got? How much you got?
Yeah.
Oh, no reply.
Yeah.
Buzzy.
To be
Buzzy.
honest,
Hoping to get a bit more soon, man.
Yeah.
Okay, well then what are you doing to get some?
You'd never get a Bitcoiner to tell you how much they have.
Yeah, I did wonder if that's that too.
Yeah.
But then it's like the gold and the silver people, because gold's up at the moment too, so I'm getting it. Like, your only real money's gold, man. I'm like, fuck yeah, okay, man. Like, where do you buy it from? Oh, like, well, this has been happening for years, man. I knew gold was going to be the thing. So then what year did you buy it? No reply. So, yeah, I mean, if you think that, gold and silver are the thing, well then are you putting your money where your mouth is? Like, are you buying any? And yeah, I mean, even recently I've had people asking me about, like, oh, no, I knew I should have bought it in this year. And that's why I put up, I don't know if you saw you're away, but I put up, I moved some of my KiwiSaver to, you might remember this, back in like real early days of KTC. I'm like, man, like, I want some exposure to gold, eh? And then I figured out I can allocate some of my KiwiSaver to it.
Thing.
Yeah, and I've got this window where it's like here, and then this graph where like I sell here and the gold's like,
That's so good.
it's so me. Like, it's so me.
You.
And I'm like, 2020, man, I need some gold. Like, this is fucking crazy what's happening in the world. They're going to print heaps of money. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm like, it's just like goes up and down, nothing. I'm setting up Hatch because you can buy gold ETFs and shit. And then now everyone's like, bro, you need gold, man. I'm like, that was 4 years ago, man. And I already sold it and missed out on the gain. But, I've then, in that time, I'm not then like, oh, gold didn't do anything. Okay, I'm just going to do nothing. I'm deploying things cash towards things that I think are going to protect me.
The thing that is important here is a lot of those comments that you get and stuff like that, and Bitcoin this and BlackRock that, and all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I didn't even have that down.
BlackRock, yeah. I sympathize with it more than you because you get probably hit with it relentlessly, but a lot of it's right. That's why I'm like, it's good that people can see it, but what's not right is what you're saying, which is not doing anything.
Yeah, and then wasting my time, messaging me about it. Bro, I know the problem. That's why the podcast exists.
Place your bets.
Yeah. Like, how many podcasts do you need to then go and take some action? Anyway,
Yeah, I think the one thing I am very certain of over time, after sort of the last sort of 5 years of learning and educating myself, is that the New Zealand, well, all dollars, but all currencies will continue to evaporate in purchasing power. It's impossible for it not to.
What's that saying, bro? You've got a real good saying, because I think Kiwis know this, but they don't know that they know it. So you say Kiwis know that, and they
So Bitcoiners buy Bitcoin because they understand the money, and property people buy property because they don't understand.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then they're like, man, property's gone up heaps. Like, I didn't do anything to it, but it's up 50%.
Yeah. Whereas people buy Bitcoin because they're like, I need to get rid of these like Kiwi pesos and then replace it with something that I know can't be printed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a different sort of thing. And after a while, you start looking at property as like a poor store of value compared to
other assets,
other things that you could be looking at. You still need a house, and you probably want to own it. Like, I think there's going to be room in the future for, I think, increasing property rights in New Zealand. I think like the council rates and all the stuff that's coming that are rapidly increasing are going to become extortionate. But I think there'll be a pushback on that. And I would still like to own a real nice house and have a place that's like my comfort place where my family can be or whatever. And I think that is important, and it is important that the individual and the people own it, so it's like their sanctuary.
Yeah.
And I don't think, living into your 40s with flatmates and stuff is a good long-term thing for the country. And I don't think like renting,
if you can avoid it.
Yeah, renting and being happy is the right call. I think home ownership is important for a big sector of society. So I agree with a lot of these people, but you have to go and place your bets then, because you as an individual or us together can't be like, oh, we're shutting down the Reserve Bank.
Yeah. Hey, Adrian, we've had enough, mate.
Yeah, like we can't do that. Yeah.
It's just popping over to your house.
Yeah.
We realise what's going on.
Yeah. So, and like we can't stop the government issuing bonds and then allowing the Reserve Bank to buy them and manipulating interest rates, and you don't have control of this. You're just like a pawn in the system, and we want all these other things to get better, but I think you have to take responsibility for yourself.
Well, that brings us to inflation, mate, which I think we know a lot about now, but all of a sudden it sort of got loud for a while. It's sort of toned down now because inflation's decreasing. But I do think a lot of people assume that because inflation's decreasing, it means there's no inflation, like things have gotten cheaper. Things are just not getting more as expensive as fast as they used to. That's what inflation means.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's sort of the, inflation's going to be here and it's going to be massive and all this stuff. Then I'm like, okay, cool. So like, what are you doing about that? Because in my head, I go to, shit, you want to become more valuable.
Yeah.
Because that's probably a way to then be able to
You need to be able to charge more to keep up. So I think the devaluation of money or inflation, which is the price and the cost of everything continuing to rise. At the end of the day, if we unpack everything, like what do we want money for? We want it so we can buy goods and services, and we want a little bit more so we can buy nicer goods and services, and then maybe have a bit more free time that we don't have to be using energy output at work to do. Maybe we can, spend it with family or spend it with friends or go fishing or do a hobby or whatever it is, which can't produce money. And when you think of it like that, inflation is quite toxic to your ability to go and do that stuff, because by the time you get there, you can't afford it, because the stuff you're putting off to the side, the dollars that you're putting off to the side, are now like 25 years later, an hour and a half. And this is a guarantee what I'm talking about. Like the dollars that you earn today will not, I'm saying this with so much certainty, will not buy you the same things you can buy today in 25 years. And that is scary, but it doesn't mean there isn't solutions. And the solutions are, you can place your bets into something like Bitcoin, gold, silver, property, whatever you choose to be.
Hard assets.
Hard assets.
Businesses that are outpacing inflation.
Yeah, so businesses that operate at a higher level, so they have a higher growth rate. Your own self.
Yes.
Can you grow faster than 10% a year?
Yep.
You should be able to.
You could move to a country with very low inflation.
You could move to a country with low inflation, but also earn money from a country where their dollars are more valuable.
So you could earn American dollars from New Zealand.
Yeah,
at the moment.
That's like currency arbitrage, right? Like earn something more valuable and then pay for things, here that are cheaper, that would be cheaper if you were an American earning American dollars.
Yep. Just on that, I'll just give a quick example, because you might do a website for someone in New Zealand and it's $5,000, but then you find an international client and you say, look, it's $5,000 to do your website, it's $5,000 US, and they go, sweet. Well, now it's actually $8,000 because it's
1.6.
Yeah. So you bring it back, you've made $8,000 compared to $5,000.
Yeah.
So now you've got an extra $3,000. Of course, you've got to pay taxes on that too.
Yeah.
But there's no GST on that because it's an export. So then you've got your 8Gs there, and then basically you've got more money than doing it for a New Zealand client. And people are doing this.
Yeah.
It's not like magic. Why do you think so many people work in Bali and live in Bali? And work for clients all around the worworld? Like this is a real thing. And those are people who have gone, something's broken, I'm going to go and do that.
Yeah.
But we're like, nah, I'll leave another comment. That'll solve it.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, little tangent is, I think there's more rich people in their 20s, as in have made big incomes or created some wealth in their 20s than ever in history.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't have any data to back that up.
Okay.
But, like our parents, for example, it was hard. Like, there wasn't like school, for example, where you could just go and like create a course and get a monthly recurring revenue and stuff like that. Like,
I thought you meant our parents didn't have school. I was like,
oh no,
shit,
school, the platform.
Yeah.
Or anything like that, right?
Stripe
like,
payments.
Yeah. Like all of that stuff to be able to charge overseas. Like our parents were like, there was no tech, and it was like go and do the job and then get paid hourly, and then maybe try and start something yourself. And if you start something yourself, by the time you're 35, you might be all right.
Yeah.
Different world. Like we've got something that can like S-curve up at the moment, which is, eventually you might not have that opportunity, so we should take advantage of it.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I've written down here as one of my little points of this pod is there is always something you can do. That's what I believe. Like, I always think that we are way more in control than what we realize. And so I just worry for those people who leave all those comments and go down those rabbit holes and then don't take any action. I'm like, why would you go to all of that effort to learn all of that stuff and then not do anything off the back of it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Or you believe that there isn't anything you can do, so then shut up. Like, why are you adding to the noise? You know, like, you've figured it out, you've done the research, and you're certain that something's broken. So then why are you going around telling random people that you're like, that you know? So, well, great. Like, well, now what do I do with that? With no solution? It seems bizarre.
Well, it is. Yeah.
But that's what we do as humans, right? Because
Yeah,
we're like,
yeah.
okay, I feel good about it. I'm like, I know, you don't, I know. I knew that. They didn't fool me, man. Well, they
Yeah.
kind of did. You're more of a fool because you did know and you didn't do anything about it. And now you're
Yeah.
in the position.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think you can't really have an excuse now. Like, there are solutions and things that you can do, and you know, I reckon over the next 20 years or so, there's going to be pushback in the areas like the stuff that we talk about, like inflation and
World
higher
Economic Forum.
taxes, and like we can already see a bit of
Yeah.
a shift.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, I think for anyone that doesn't like that stuff, there's probably light at the end of the tunnel, so don't worry about it so much, but also be a productive human in the meantime, because if it goes wrong, you want to be able to get out.
Yeah.
Like, the other solution is, like, get fucking rich, get another passport, and get ready.
Yeah. And people do that.
Yeah, like, seriously.
Yeah.
Like, if you think that New Zealand is under, like,
Attack.
and it's going to all turn to custard, and, you know, it feels like it's trending the wrong way and it's accelerating, and we're going to lose the currency, and we're going to have 90% taxes, and the government's going to own all the houses, or BlackRock or whatever. If that doesn't sound like a place you want to be living in, and you think it's coming in the next 10 years, you don't have much time to fuck around. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, take it seriously then.
You know, like with the World Economic Forum one, that's like really common. You know, you own nothing and be happy and stuff. I'm like, okay, then like, wouldn't you just move to one of those countries that's not really like into that? You know, where they're like really about buying heaps of assets and owning your own shit and whatnot. Wouldn't you go live there?
Private property rights. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they're available, right?
Just going back to capital gains tax, mate. I think
Off.
no, like what I was going to say is, if you believe we need a capital gains tax and it's like it's going to fix everything, why don't you go first? And why don't you pay a bit more? Like, wouldn't that be the solution? So, you know, we could even get into business and then try and increase your tax output. You know, I've gone from 16,000 to 160,000 last year, so I've 10x mine. Sweet. So I've done my bit. Can you, if you think we need a capital gains tax, because that's going to fit, like, when can you get going? Can you tell your parents if they think that they do, then like, why can't they just start, you know, funneling some in now? You don't have to wait. You can just pay extra to the government. Or why don't you go pay, take money that you think you should have been taxed via a capital gains tax and go and donate it to someone?
Any disposable income,
Yeah,
any dollar that you have left over, if you're not paying that to the IRD as extra,
do you truly believe it?
But you're proposing that we should be taxed more in any form, capital gains, income, GST, whatever, then you are 110% full of shit.
Bang, there he is. I got him. I backed him into the corner. Yes. That's why I had to go back to the capital gains tax, ladies and gentlemen.
Taxes, man.
But it does sort of make a bit of sense, right? You have all those like people saying like, oh, we should do this. Like, great. Like, you can go. Like, even there was all the people who were quite wealthy signing the petition about how we'd have a capital gains tax. I'm like, hey, go back through and recalculate all your capital gains and just, there you go. Pop them off somewhere.
Yeah.
There's a lot of give a littles out there at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if you email, well, the IRD have their bank account where you can make payments into as well.
Yeah. Just send it. Like, if you're signing a thing saying it should be done, lead by example.
Yeah. Where's the cash? Yeah. So like, I don't know that if I was hard up that, I'd be like, okay, well then what am I doing to actually pay a bit more tax or donate? Like, I know there's a project that school of mine that I went to is looking to do, and they need money from people. I'm like, yeah, I'll kick in a little bit to that, because I'm like, fuck, that'd be cool for the next generations to have that facility to be able to use.
Yeah.
But if they don't get the money, they can't do it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that means something to me. I will kick in and do it.
Yeah.
But I do wonder if we also, people have to understand that if we have capital gains tax, you might find that some wealthy people go, well, I can't make those donations anymore because I need to factor in my capital gains tax next year. So yes, I do like to give to the Disability Foundation, etc., but I can't going forward because we've got a bit of pressure from this angle. So it is what it is. And you're
like the doctor that you spoke about, like, you know, a few months ago that didn't do the extra hours because he didn't feel like there was any point because he was getting waxed 40.
Yeah.
on the income.
Yeah.
Crazy, eh?
Okay, so this is just designed to get you thinking, people. Don't get too triggered.
Yeah, we're gonna warn you. Imagine the comments on YouTube right now.
Oh, mate. Okay, there's the own nothing and be happy. For me, I'm like, okay, well, like you better that's been around since 2016. You better own some shit. Like you better get some assets. That's sort of my
the
solution.
argument is that they'll take it from you.
But like, so what are you going to live your life in fear? They're going to take it from you. So what your two choices are: get after it and get some, and then fight them when they take it from you, or B, own nothing. You already own nothing. So then what? Like, so what? You're just going to go around like telling everyone? Well, wouldn't you just move to somewhere where that's not going to be a thing, or they're not going to put up with that? There seems like there's a lot of people who own a lot of shit, and what they're just going to take it all? Maybe they do. But like, what are you doing in the meantime?
Yeah.
Or how are you going to live your life with like that weight?
Yeah, I don't like the weight. That's why I don't think about it too much.
Yeah. Man, I'm really scared to say this one to Mikey. Capitalism doesn't work.
Oh, yeah.
So then wouldn't the solution be, well, then practice your own socialism?
It's kind of communism, socialism is what we do in the family household with our children.
Okay, yeah.
We rule with an iron fist, right? And then we get out into the real world and I think we carry a bit of that and we think that we should continue to do that via our government, and the reality is that free market capitalism is the way to go.
Loves that.
Capitalism doesn't work, fucking hell.
But wouldn't you then move to a country with socialism?
Yeah.
Or like, what's the other one? Because I don't know heaps about this stuff.
Communism.
Yeah, I didn't even know what the difference was not long ago.
Yeah.
I still don't really know it well. But
Yeah.
I'm just like, if you don't like it, then wouldn't you? Because there are countries that don't run with capitalism.
You already live in socialism.
Yeah. So I should know what it is.
New Zealand is very, very much socialist, yeah.
Yeah.
With sprinkles of capitalism. You know, capitalism is so good and so effective that even with like what I call broken fiat money, even with forever increasing taxes, even with poor state management of the financial accounts and, you know, productivity, efficiency of the work that they're meant to do, you can still create a better life if you want to.
Yeah.
And that does not come from socialism. That comes from the capitalism side of it, because you can go after it and get it.
Yeah.
And you can only do that. Where people get confused on this, I think, is the gigantic monopolies. And yeah, crony capitalism is different, and I think it gets tarnished. And honestly, it comes back to a bit of inflation and printing money, and that's like a 3-hour pod. But I think it's misunderstood, and the reason that you're poor after you've been working quite hard for maybe 5 years is not because of capitalism. It's because the money that you have been earning has lost its value, which means you've gone to work, you've earned the money, and then in 2, 3, 4 years, you go to spend it and you're like, what the fuck, I can buy a Toyota Corolla. My parents could buy a house. That isn't capitalism.
Yeah.
That's the money printer. And I think it's really important to be able to understand that, because then you can make moves and do things. But yeah, you can't complain about capitalism in New Zealand because we don't have it. We have a sprinkle of it on top of the socialism.
Then consumerism. So, you know, like everyone's consuming too much. Then, so what do those people do? Shouldn't they be consuming less?
Well, if you're concerned about consumerism and you're also poor, figure out how to sell into it and make money out of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then they'll be like, no, you can't do that because I don't want to fuel the... You know,
I don't even know what that means, man. Like, you consume. You eat. You drive to work. You use power or petrol to drive to work. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, well, I thought then, okay, if you are so worried about that, well, then wouldn't you focus on contributing more than you consume? So you become a net contributor? Because I think a lot of people who complain about consumerism are actually, like, you go on their social media feeds and stuff, and you're like, holy shit, man.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be throwing the rocks from that glass house that you didn't need.
So what is consumerism?
I don't know what people are talking about. I think they're saying, like, you know, you're consuming too much and you're ruining the planet, etc. Or like it's just, it's all for nothing and we're ruining everything. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Again, like a scary way to live.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't,
Yeah.
I honestly don't even. Consumerism to me means, that we consume stuff.
But I think as well, once you go overseas and you realize how small New Zealand is and how big other nations are consuming, it kind of smacks you in the face of like, oh shit.
Like
not-
plastic bags in America.
Yeah, we're not solving this here on our own. So then wouldn't you move over there to one of those countries or where the problem is big and be like, hey guys, hey, we're leading the way down there or whatever, like whatever the teachings are that you think the world needs, and say, hey, I need to educate you on how this could help. Because, I guess even being in America where it's like Joey at his restaurant, doesn't even know that the New Zealand has a North Island.
Yeah,
And that's how small we are
Yeah.
in people's minds, but we think that we are going to save the world and do all this stuff from New Zealand when a lot of people don't even know. Yeah, or even...
We don't even consume that bad in New Zealand, to be honest, once you go and see. I think we're pretty good in that regard here. Comparatively, I guess, but we shouldn't compare. We can always do better, I guess.
Finally, mate, if BlackRock are going to buy up everything, like, wouldn't you just buy shares in BlackRock?
Yeah.
That's a bit of a gag for the last one, but
Yeah.
I mean, like, I actually looked into that. I was like, oh, maybe I should just, I should probably own some shares in BlackRock. But anyway,
Well, yeah. BlackRock probably have shares in the things that you own.
yeah,
They're a big shareholder in lots of stuff.
Yeah,
So
well,
you're
like-
making the same bets as them. Although they probably didn't buy that gold ETF.
or sell it.
Yeah.
Or
They
sell
probably
it.
bought the ones
when I
off you
sold
that
it,
you sold.
of course they did.
That's so good.
All right, mate. Well, this has been like a little bit of fun to remind us, like when you get, because it's really easy, I think, in this day and age to go down these rabbit holes where it's like capital gains, World Economic Forum, inflation, it's gold and silver, it's in, tax the rich, the country's fucked, like all of this stuff. And you have to stop and go, okay, if I believe that, or if I'm going to live my life thinking about that stuff, what am I actually doing to make my life better? Because I think all that a lot of this shit does for people is just actually make their life harder. And then they want to bark at other people whose lives are actually, people that are trying to like get on with it and go like, yeah, bro, I kind of know, eh? Like, I kind of know it fucking sucks that I have to bust my ass to try and provide for my family. I don't really need you coming around here telling me that it's all cooked. Like, I kind of know that because I'm spending, I'm going to the supermarket, I get it. And so here's what we're doing. We actually renovated this little unit out the back, and now we've got some Airbnb income.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is pretty cooked, mate. I get it.
Yeah.
But that's the solution, the Airbnb income. Oh, and by the way, we're taking that money, we're putting 50% into Bitcoin, or we're doing this, or we're stacking cash so that we can get out of here if we need to, or we're investing for our child. They've got solutions, not just like, Barry who's come around and been like, oh, well, it's just cooked. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, cool,
yeah.
mate. And we get it. That's
Yeah,
why we're
yeah.
doing all this shit around the edges.
Yeah, I think there are like plenty of solutions and stuff, and I think, yeah, man, we need to do better at backing ourselves as being the problem solvers, and being the
Yes.
solution providers, because collectively we can fix a lot of shit,
Yes.
and collectively we are very powerful too, versus like government versus whatever, once unified and focused on goals and stuff like that, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like things could get so good. And then that's hard to do because everyone has a different idea, but
It can be done.
it can be
Look
done.
at
And I
Christchurch
think-
Rebuild.
That's not done.
Oh, no, but like, everyone goes,
Yeah, well,
we need to do
let's
this.
help, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a good example.
Sorry. Well, we went to the moon.
Yeah.
Or did we? Yeah, maybe we didn't.
Oh,
I don't know.
Taylor, my partner, reckons we didn't know.
Okay,
Yeah, she's
yeah.
so funny. She's like, nah, the flag was blown. They don't have wind.
Look at Elon catching that rocket the other day.
I know. Insane, eh?
You know?
The solutions that the private market are capable of are so great.
Mm.
And so we don't even know them yet, and they're much bigger than our little limited brains like to believe.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff I've seen with AI recently is mind-blowing. But like humans create that. We were after a solution to a problem, and we're going to be the ones that fix all this other shit.
I like it, mate. So final reminder, like if you get stuck in these rabbit holes, hopefully this has been a bit of fun to have you stop and go, is it serving me well? And what am I actually doing? Or do I want to, this one's probably my most recent one, this young fella asking me about, have you looked into what happens to the KiwiSaver providers in a recession? And I should just not even be replying, right? I'm just like, dude, have you emailed them? nah, that's a good idea. I know it's a good idea, mate. I'm fucking full of good ideas. But dude, like, and I'm like, is this stopping you investing? Well, it's made me weary, but I'm like, oh mate, like we're in a recession.
Yeah.
And was COVID not enough? Or now like a real big one. I'm like, how big is it?
Yeah.
You know, but we want to find all of this shit down a rabbit hole to then make our life even harder. And then what good comes of that? Like two things happen. One, you don't take advantage of it anyway.
No, exactly.
And then some people get wiped out and they're in KiwiSaver. They're upset. You're not upset. Sweet. But you're still not like, now what? Like now what are you doing? You still don't know how to take advantage of it.
No, exactly.
You know, or you're like, yeah, that could happen. Therefore, I'm going to do this over here. And then you nail it and you're like, man, I backed myself. I educated myself. I was worried about that happening. I placed a bet. I put my money where my mouth is and I got on with it.
100%. And individually, you're never going to go through life without having like some sort of hard period or something go wrong, or you're going to have to solve a problem at some point. So, and then collectively on a big scale, there's been lots of generations that have had depressions, recessions, war.
Oh, man.
Like plagues.
Yeah.
You know, like all of this shit. And the human race has survived so far.
Man, like, and just on that, I mean, this always just warps my mind, but I'm like, oh, okay, you know, you should be driving a Tesla, Luke, etc. We're going to ruin the planet, all this stuff. And then I flick on the telly, I'm like, whoa, man, what's inside a bomb? Like, holy, they just fired 90 missiles at that country. Oh, holy shit, that can't be good for the planet. Like, oh, okay, here I was recycling. I just finished recycling my plastic bottle around the corner in my apartment so that fucking Sally doesn't cut my hand off and tell me I'm, you know, killing the planet or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, whoa, that doesn't look great.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's not, I don't know. I think we overplay our importance with these things.
You're good though. You actually practice it. I just revolt and just drive turbos and V8s and rotaries.
Oh, mate, mine hasn't passed a warrant, so I might be getting rid of it. Yeah, man, I was going to say, I got some work to do, but I'm not going to be doing the work on the car. I wouldn't even know where to start. I said to the guys, like, bro, I really don't. I'm like, I need the solutions, man. Don't tell me the problems with the car. I need you to tell me. He'd written down 4 problems. I'm like, bro, like what I need to do with this piece of paper.
Yeah.
I'm like, I wanted to pass up the top, not fail.
Oh, no.
Anyway, so if you've got mates that are like this too and they're hard down the rabbit hole, just ask them, be like, sweet, man. So, okay, great. Like, cool. What place your bets? So what are you doing about it? Are you doing anything about it? Are you placing your money where your mouth is? And I think a lot of these people you'll find are actually just trying to convince themselves that the world will be bad so that they can be like, okay, I told you so. But then their life's still going to be tough. So just be careful getting stuck there and be careful hanging out with these types of people.
Yeah. Also, when it gets real, let's just assume that it gets dark. There's enough people around that will fight. So have some belief in them if you're not going to believe in yourself.
Nice, I like it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess there's a very quick example I was going to say before. You know, I remember pacing my apartment, my 1-bedroom apartment, and I'm paying $650 on.
Yeah.
Not long after being like, yeah, like I finally afford an apartment again.
Yeah.
And then it's like, we're going to shut the world down.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
No, whoa. I'm just starting to get some traction here.
Yeah.
And then Mikey's doing mortgage advisory. I'm on the phone. We're like, holy shit, man, no one's going to be able to buy any homes, bro. People aren't going to be able to settle. The fucking lawyers can't.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're cooked, man.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. Like, these clients could go. I'm like, wow. And then all of a sudden, like, we get through it. Property goes on a tier.
Yeah.
You're like, right, I'm going to hire 146,000 people. Yeah. You know, and people are so like they're just waiting for something bad to happen to be like, holy shit. But when bad things happen, often people are like, right, let's figure it out.
Solutions, baby.
And that's what I believe in people being able to do, because there's always something you can do. So place your bets in the meantime, you sick puppies.